Sorry about the delay. As soon as I went live, they said that they're doing something called a managing moderator. I'm like, dog, why would y'all tell me this as soon as I go live? But I am curious about it. What's going on, everybody? This is Chris Classic, dropping a car vlog in the snow of Chicago Heights. It snowed this morning, and it is just, man, I just thought everything was 50 yesterday. Now it's just cold, but still it's snowing. Well, it's not snowing no more. But nobody tells you that remember that God loves you, Christ loves you, and I love you as well. And I'm praying that you guys and gals have a wonderful day. And I'm praying that if you are going through something, you continue to find your way and press through. Trials and tribulations come to all of us, all shapes and sizes. Doesn't matter who we spend time with, how nice we are, how mean we are. But how do you take care of that? How do you go through the motions? It's very, very important. Lafayette, Indiana in the building. Robert Brown, what's going on, brother? Rent Syndicate in the building. Hope everything is fine with you, brother. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, the Taking Home Podcast, where I talk about professional wrestling topics, and I put up my matches as classic alpha professional wrestler of 13 years. It'll be 14 years in March, and if the good Lord see me there, it'll be a big blessing. I'm definitely good, bro. Make sure you also subscribe to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. That is me and my wife's professional wrestling company, C3 Ultimate Wrestling. We have all of our matches from the previous years, and then we also have our next show next month, almost a month away, called Big Business, February 21st in Dyer, Indiana, Harrah's private venue. Get your tickets on Eventbrite. They are $5 off on Eventbrite. So that means kids' prices for tickets, they're $5 on Eventbrite, and adult tickets are $10 on Eventbrite. But there'll be $5 more at the door, bar. So that means that tickets for adults will be $15 at the door, and tickets for kids will be $10. So make sure you get that deal. That is a big deal. That's a great deal. That's something that I believe is fair for families and stuff like that to have a great time. I do know that some places charge an arm and a leg, and I do understand that they are trying to take care of themselves as well. But we're just trying to take care of family. You feel me? So make sure we see you guys February 21st. The IWC. Oh, don't throw the tomatoes at me. Don't boo at me. The IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community. For the most part, what's going on? I believe it's Kutzer. The IWC is very, very negative. They say toxic stuff. They have horrible takes. They think they know wrestling more than wrestlers. They think they know how to book. They can be very, very disrespectful. They can talk about people's personal life. They can talk about something. They can do a whole bunch of stuff. They can dox people. So many things are so negative with the IWC. And I've talked about it before, but today, I am here. What's up, Mr. Psycho? I am here to talk about that the IWC can be positive at times. There's some places are give or take when it comes to certain things, but not all people that are involved in the IWC is negative. For example, this channel is part of the IWC. I'm using the internet to go live. I'm a wrestler. I love wrestling. I book wrestling. Fan of it, wrestling, and then the community, the people who I talk to and things like that. Now, you may just be a subscriber to the channel. It doesn't per se make you part of the internet community unless you want to be, but I do feel like, obviously, that I am part of the internet wrestling community. I don't see myself as a negative person, but I also address negative stuff, and I also give my opinions. Hey, I like this wrestler. Hey, this wrestler probably is a nice person, but they aren't great of a wrestler in any practice. That alone could bring some negativity out of people. Now, when I say a wrestler needs to work on something, I'm not saying that I'm better than them or I have it all together. But what I am saying is, from my experience of wrestling and what I've been watching and stuff and how much I care, I do feel like certain things can be done a lot better, right? So I do feel like a lot of people, they go with how I'm saying it, and then they run it to the ground negatively. Oh, they need to do this. They need to get surgery. They need to lose weight. They need to do this. Now, losing weight is definitely one of those fickle things, but it's also very important to take care of your health. But I definitely understand why some people feel a certain way when they say it. But still, I feel like for the most part, I put my matches up. You know, I don't do any craziness and vile things. You know, I feel like I'm a trained professional wrestler, so I do things the professional way. more than a trash way or just trying to get views and stuff like that. So those things are also very, very important with me. There are channels that are like me that are very, very professional and very nice, and even channels that their main topics aren't wrestling. When we think of Arshawn from Crib Drinking, we talk about how he is very respectable with how he carries himself when me, him, and Kev have conversations about wrestling, right? To the point it's just like, to me, he is part of the internet wrestling community because he has videos about it, but he's very, very respectful. Kevin Young Sr. is very, very respectful. Even the people who have came in through the channel through them, Inya, Sim, a lot of them, very, very respectful to the craft of professional wrestling. So sometimes I do think that everybody is obviously free and have a right to speak how they feel about wrestlers and wrestling on the internet. Everybody can, regardless if they're a big fan of it or not. Sometimes I pay attention to it and sometimes I don't. Sometimes you do have to just keep it moving. But I do think that there are some people that actually want the best for wrestling and want to be entertained by wrestling. Listen, man, there's a lot of things to say that when people like, we're going to say WWE, right? So WWE has been consistently inconsistent with a lot of stuff, right? So the fact that people want you to actually do good, that says something. And for you to squander it or misuse it, then that's on you at the end of the day. There's a lot of people that are just fans of wrestling and want to see great wrestling shows. So I'm going to always advertise for C3 Ultimate Wrestling. Sure, you have a bias, but I do feel like what we do there, we back up everything, right? Peace from Toronto. Thank you. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Love from Toronto. But still, I do feel like the IWC can be very, very positive, especially if they like a wrestler. If they like you, they're going to talk about you. They're going to post about you. They're going to make you memes. They're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then sometimes that can also make you get booked. Joe Hendry has been doing music stuff for years and all kind of stuff with his creativity. But the stuff in like TNA and then his theme song and stuff like that, it made him an internet phenomenon to the fact that he got more bookings. I told you guys last year when I went to the Square Circle Expo, he was there. He had some of the longest lines. Kurt was there, Brett was there, JBL was there, Will Ospreay was there, Sting was there. A lot of these guys were there, and Joe Hendry for sure had a long line of people. They had shirts and everything. They were excited to see him and stuff like that. I don't remember if this was before or after WrestleMania, but still, big thing because a lot of people talked about it. Like, when I used to pick up my baby from daycare, she'd be like, can you play the Joe Hendry song? Because she loved the Joe Hendry song. Now, we've talked about how I feel about his wrestling, but still, the character is still, it's not as high as it used to be, but people still sing the song, they still dance, they still do a whole bunch of stuff. Because some of the internet, a lot of people on the internet, they talked about the songs, they played this stuff, people made jokes about it, I made a joke about it, people made memes, I seen it in the Thriller video, I think that's one of the funniest ones, and Joe capitalized on it. Even before Joe Hendry, when we look at Matt Cardona, also known as Zack Ryder wasn't treated that well when he was in WWE with the woo 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 and stuff like that. But he started his YouTube channel, Long Z Island, whatever it was called. Z Long Story. I don't know. Y'all know what I mean when I say that. But still, what happened was he started to show a lot of his personality and people was rocking with it. I remember my brother-in-law, he would like play it and we look at it and we laugh because we're like, man, this dude is very, very entertaining. We would laugh and stuff. But then what will happen? Internet talked about it a lot, and then to the point to where WWE would have shows, we want Ryder, woo, woo, woo. We want Ryder, woo, woo, woo. The Ryder Revolution. Like, The Rock literally was talking, and the crowd really just wanted Zack Ryder. They didn't even want The Rock like that. They wanted Zack Ryder. And even The Rock had to acknowledge the greatness of the popularity that Zack Ryder had. Now, WWE has done a bad job with how they handled it. Sure, he was an Intercontinental Champion and stuff like that, but wound up losing it, and then that horrible storyline with Kane and John Cena and Eve Torres because they didn't want to really push him because they were just doing it so the internet people could be happy for about a weekend, and then eventually people I don't want to say stop believing in them, but the hype went down a lot after that. And then he went to the independent scene. he still has some of that popularity, called himself the indie god, and he made a lot of money, made a lot of merch, and he's done a lot of things because a lot of people on the internet still love him, even as he was Zack Ryder, but now Matt Cardona. Now he's signed back to WWE. So sky's the limit to see what's going to happen with that situation. I've seen Joe Hendry in Toronto at TNA meet and greet, also at an indie show up here a long times. JB Abraham current we're here for this. Yeah, those are like around the same. I don't know if Joe. I think Joe was only there for like one day because they had a weekend event. I think it was Friday and Saturday. I think he was there Saturday, but still, big group, long line for people who wanted to see Joe Hendry. So there's a lot of people online. Also, I do like that, like IWC, they do a great job with sometimes facts, historic facts. Like when they were saying Jey Uso was Iron Man, wrestled the most, wrestled the longest, and things like that. Sometimes people use the history of WWE, of wrestling, and then they'll bring it to people's attention to the fact that even WWE or even AEW will acknowledge some history and stuff like that. You know, WWE or AEW could possibly push who they want to push, but the internet is going to push who they want to. Now, when I say that, I can bring up guys like the Elite or the Bullet Club. I ain't really watched much of the Bullet Club when they got big. I wasn't a New Japan fan. Not to say that it was boring. I just didn't have the means to watch it, and I wasn't watching it through YouTube and through tapes and stuff like that. But the Bullet Club thing took over online with everybody that was in it and stuff like that. And then people had their own version of the Bullet Club shirt and stuff like that. And it was like a big faction, one of the biggest factions in a while, because it was independent though. It wasn't mainstream, but you would think that it was mainstream because almost every show you'd go to, you'd see somebody with a Bullet Club shirt. I know that wrestlers that had made merch that were like similar to it to make it similar, you know, look similar to the Bullet Club logo and stuff like that. So there's was a big thing that people went crazy for. Guys like Kenny Omega, guys like the Young Bucks and stuff like that. Those were like the internet kings at one point because people was looking at how they wrestled. You guys know how I don't care for it. We ain't gonna talk about it, but still, that helped them get booked because people were considering the Young Bucks the greatest tag team out on the indies. Some people was considering Kenny Omega one of the greatest wrestlers. Some people consider Ricochet at one point. Will Ospreay, all of these guys. These guys were on the internet. Now, like I said, not a big fan of how they wrestle, but that got them bookings because people wanted to see these guys. When Will Ospreay and Ricochet did that match in Japan, like everybody talked about that for a long time. And that helped them get more bookings than the bookings they already had. Not saying that that match put them on the map, but it definitely broadened their horizon because so many people booked them. And that's the crazy part. So many companies booked them to have that same match. Literally, if you put in Ricochet versus Will Ospreay and you look at some of the indie stuff, they're doing the same match. Unless they were tagging with their ladies at the time or whatever like that. But still, they were doing the same thing. Just bits and pieces of it that was taken out, trying to make it different. But it was the same match, basically. So still. So sometimes matches can, like intergender wrestling, right? That is like gets millions and thousands and millions of views online. I mean, like Title Match Wrestling, shout out to them. Some of their most viral videos are intergender matches. And when people saw that, people was like, oh, okay, well, let me make an intergender match and then get some views and some subs and stuff like that. On the internet, big thing on YouTube is intergender wrestling. And mind you, and I'm saying this as a positive, you guys know how I feel about intergender wrestling. My biggest thing is stuff has to make sense more than anything. For you to try to tell me a guy that's Brock Lesnar size is going to have a 10-minute match with a girl Charlotte Flair size. Like, imagine Charlotte Flair versus Brock Lesnar. And you trying to tell me that Charlotte will last past a minute or two. It's crazy. And I understand people be trying to say, oh, well, they're aware of what wrestling is and stuff like that, but still, you know what I'm saying? My friend, don't forget, right? Oh, for sure. What up, Salem? But still, the IWC can be very, very positive, right? I think some wrestlers, they've went to the IWC and says, hey, you guys are very, very supportive of what we do, you know, because sometimes the companies that they work for, they may not feel like they are loved or they are cherished, but sometimes people do like message these wrestlers and they tell these wrestlers, hey, you're my favorite wrestler, or hey, you're my son's or my daughter's or my children's favorite wrestler, my uncle, my grandmother's favorite wrestler. And sometimes these wrestlers tweet it and they say they feel good and they need this stuff like that. You know, Bray Wyatt's untimely passing, right? Look at how the community got together for that and was singing and all of that and happy and getting tattoos, talking about how great of a person he was and stuff like that. Even when Brody Lee passed away, right? People was talking about that. They were saying like, man, the community got together. You know, sometimes people don't get all together for when wrestlers pass because either they said something bad, they said something controversial, they said something heinous or whatever like that. But these were guys that people really, really love, right? And then you get together and it's like wrestling stops for that. Even on the internet, they stopped for that. I made videos about it. People talked about it and people did 10 bill salutes and people gave moment of silence because of the people being like very, very compelling. You know, the internet can do those kind of things. The IWC can do those kind of things as well. Also, they, like I said about the Joe Hendry thing, they can also like tell people, hey, this is a wrestler you need to look out for. And then sometimes people will listen to these people, especially if they got thousands of subs, they're going to listen to them and be like, hey, well, let me look at what this wrestler can do. And sometimes that helps them out or whatever like that. The IWC, sometimes they'll promote wrestling shows that aren't WWE and AEW. You know, I've heard people talk about Ashe Wrestling. We talk about C3 Ultimate Wrestling and then other companies and stuff that when people say, oh, well, they're not treating the wrestlers of color well, and they have companies that actually do it. And sometimes that's not the main thing that they are promoting. They're just promoting great family-friendly entertainment like C3, right? So you have options. You know, you can go online and say, hey, what's a company I need to look out for? What's a wrestler I need to look out for? And then people can say, oh, well, look out for this company or look out for this wrestler. Like, it's very, very important. The PWI, right? The Pro Wrestling Illustrated list, right? People didn't like it. Some people felt like there was a lack of representation. BWI, Black Wrestlers List. Now, I give both lists crap and flack. Crap and flack. Crap, flack. I give them both crap and flack. But the fact that people can get together and they can make a list and then you get a lot of reactions, regardless good or bad. Sometimes you just get the engagement and people are talking about it and they're sharing it, and some people are saying they're grateful for making a list. Some people, oh, I was 400 last year and then now I'm 200. So, you know, some people are showing gratitude for that. To each their own. You know, the internet wrestling community is not just Twitter. Sometimes it's Facebook, sometimes it's YouTube, sometimes it's X, sometimes it's anything, sometimes it's Black Planet. Okay, that was going too far, but still, sometimes it's just certain things, and there are some positive to it. I did want to like speak about that. I didn't want to just say, oh, well, the IWC is always negative, because I use the internet to bring the wrestling community to C3 Ultimate Wrestling and to also for a Classic Alpha. Hey, you want to see some of my matches? Here it is on YouTube, on the internet and stuff like that. You guys will see me here in Indiana or Illinois. You guys will see me wrestle. So I always do those kind of things. You know, how you utilize it is very, very important. And I think that's what I'm going to say at the end, as for the last part, is how you utilize the internet wrestling community, how you engage into it, and what you say on it is very, very important. If you think it's negative, you can't find positive within it. You may not find it just like that, but you will definitely find it, right? And I do think that, like, for the most part, I can sit here and say that I'm positive. Do some people agree with what I say? Yes. Do they disagree? Yes. And that's totally fine. I don't consider nobody an enemy that like disagrees with what I feel or take on a wrestler or a wrestling company or any kind of story. It is what it is. But still, I did want to speak about that for a little bit. So I am on the way to get my kids, and I'm actually here. So I do want to leave you guys having a wonderful day. Shout out to you guys from all over the world. Shout out to Toronto and everything. Shout out to you guys. This is Chris Classic. I hope you have a wonderful day. Let's take it home.